Turns out he's a major cinephile. They don't watch enough movies! It's a very simple formula! And here we go. Hey you, welcome to the show. Episode 4, in the books. We're doing it right now. If you wondered, hey, did I miss anything? 4 episodes? I thought there were only 3. Well, maybe you did miss something. On Monday, I put out a specialty episode about the 2020 DC Fandom event. If you have not yet, you should absolutely go check that out. Don't worry, I'll be right here once you get back. You do that, and we can continue once you're all caught up on your Batman and you get your fix of DC Comics. Great, you're back, and you're all caught up. So now we can get going and get the show on the road for this week's episode. Now, I'm sure you guys have known, big thing, Mulan 2020 live action version. We're all super excited, or maybe we were, but now we know it's dropping on Disney Plus next Friday for a whopping $30. So unless you're a family of 3, where let's say 3 plus, you could be 3, 4, 5, whatever. But think about it. How much does an average movie ticket cost? Let's say $14, $15, maybe that's on the lower end of things. If you live by yourself, you are not going to buy, or maybe rent Mulan for a service you already own for $30. It's a tough sell, but have no fear. If you aren't made of money and want to get your Disney fix in, let me be your guide. And you sit back and you can be my guest. All week I've been going through the Disney Plus catalog from the classics to the modern hits and some lesser known gems. And I am here to tell you which films will get you that musical fix you crave, whether it be social distance party for one in the lonely apartment or bundled up in a blanket in the dark really in your feels. Either way, this is for you. And as a special bonus, just for you, not only will I provide a handy dandy Spotify playlist with all the bangers, I will definitively break down the top 10 Disney movies by their music. This is going to be a tough one, folks. This may be a hotly contested and debated topic. If you disagree, you know how to reach out to us. Social platforms, either knickknack_IC or knickknack movies. I cannot wait to hear from you all. There's going to be some hearts broken with this list. But let's get this show on the road, and we're going to start with the first movie that anyone's probably thinking about, Snow White. Off the bat, some of these vocal runs Snow White has popping off are wild. And not the good kind of wild, like bad wild. You will not be singing along to any of these tracks for fun. Maybe it's just me, but early voice acting and by extension singing voices are just annoying in 2020 looking back, and probably even before that. So for being the first movie we were talking about, it's not as bad as some of the other early offenders on this list. Whistle While You Work has the potential to be good, but so much of it is orchestral, and even though it's a Disney staple, the percentage of singing is so small in this, it can't be positively looked at when we're thinking of the top Disney hits. That being said, the orchestral backing is pretty good, so we'll give it a little bit of wiggle room, but not enough to get on the playlist, that's for sure. There is, however, one great song in this, that being Hi-Ho, Hi-Ho, it's off to work we go, whistle, whistle, whistle sound effects. And it is our first official Stamp It Disney banger. And the DJ Do remix of this, Snow White Girl Is Fine, that whole mixtape is a must for Disney people, by the way. We will make sure to put a link out somewhere so you guys can hear that absolute masterpiece of mashup music. It's a must for Disney people. So, on to the next one, Pinocchio. The weirdest movie I watched as a kid from Disney. And that's coming from someone who loved Fantasia. And when I say love, I mean I stood up, I watched it, I waited for my mom to rewind it for me, and then I would watch it again and again and again through the glory of VHS technology. When You Wish on a Star is good, but the actual singing is kind of odd and leaves something to be desired. But at least the songs are like sung by characters and not just these droll, boring chorus ensemble pieces that seem to really permeate in early Disney movie music, especially as like the intro to movies. I'd rather, in my mind, and you guys will hopefully notice this as the list goes on, one of the criteria that I try to keep is if the music is coming from a character in the world. So if Pinocchio is singing a song, it's coming from Pinocchio and not just a random narrator that's singing music that sort of takes you out of it a little bit, I would say. Give a Little Whistle isn't bad either, but some reason about the Jiminy Cricket singing voice is like just not great. It hasn't aged super well for me, and I feel like that's sort of the thing that's hurting Pinocchio, because there's a surprising amount of like not bad songs. I've Got No Strings is good too for a time. There's a portion of it that's good. I just don't like most of the singers' voices. It's just an odd movie, and even though some of the tracks are good, they're just not made in a way that makes me super excited to want to go rewatch or re-listen to anything from Pinocchio. So normally I would put Dumbo in the same category of early things of just no good song to sing to. And let's make this clear. The orchestral music in this and all these is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what we're saying specifically is songs that you can either sing to or get down to, or when they're really good, both. So this is no disrespect to Frank Churchill or Edward Plum, who did Dumbo and a lot of other earlier Disney movie orchestral tracks. But this movie does have one pretty chill track, and it comes at the weirdest time. Unlike Alice in Wonderland, the drunken exploits of Dumbo during the Pink Elephant Parade song is kind of like a fun little beat. This brass and big band style bop is like a slow burn. It's crazy with the K. They have to get sloshed to get us to a song that's this good. Think, if I had to describe the song, if you haven't heard Pink Elephants on Parade, it's like a more menacing Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, and it combines with a little bit of the just oddity of music stylings of I'm the Walrus. You will not want this song on loop, but you also definitely don't want to miss out on one of the earlier, better Disney jams. Do you ever need to watch Bambi? In my mind, absolutely not. It's sad, and it shows dear mom death. We don't need that in our lives. Life is tough enough as it is, especially in 2020. Are there any good songs in this movie? No. They clearly love these slow burn chorus numbers, and there's an atmosphere element to doing that, but no one is going to say they love the music from Bambi. And if they do, they're playing devil's advocate, lying, or related to the original composers. And if you are the latter, welcome to the show. And please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, and please leave a nice review. Cinderella, the first outlier of good music. Not amazing, but good enough to keep you going, and maybe you'd be humming a tune. A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes is pretty good and pleasant. It's like a nice appetizer. It isn't going to fill you up, but the music is kind of zen, relaxing. The lead's voice, Eileen Woods, is pretty good. The only issue is the mice chorus gets old fast, and that's not just on one song, that's the entire musical scoring. The mid-2000s Alvin and the Chipmunks movie revival ruined this for everyone. There's a lot of mouse singing, which is bad. Also, in case anyone's wondering, I did look this up rewatching, I was curious, the shoe, when everything leaves by midnight, the shoe is still there because it's made of pure magic, where everything else was impacted by magic, so it reverted. But I would guess magic can't revert to just magic, so it became a shoe. I was curious about that plot point rewatching, and lo and behold. I'll also say, interestingly enough, when I think of the Cinderella music, I think a lot about things from Snow White and Pinocchio that maybe weren't as good, that got made slightly better into Cinderella. Like when I think of A Wish Your Heart Makes, I think of Wish Upon a Star from Pinocchio. So just my personal 2 cents. All right, Alice in Wonderland. For context, I did not grow up with this one, and the first time watching it, I wondered if somehow I was getting a contact high from this abstract nonsense. Still on the ancient unsingable music train, even after Cinderella. I feel like I have to scrape along the bottom of the barrel to find the best songs in these movies. This movie is a primary offender of just saying words over music and calling it a song. Knock it off, Alice in Wonderland. Knock it off. Like, does I'm late even count as a song? I'm late for a very important date. That's just him saying words. I guess the 2 best songs are repeating Happy Unbirthday, Birthdays at the Tea Party, and Painting the Roses Red. But if you're looking for musical fun, skip this absolute rubbish. Oh boy, Peter Pan. Besides the well-documented aspects of this movie not aging particularly well, and this does translate to some of the songs that fall into the same issue of being pretty culturally insensitive, even without that, the songs of actual quality in this film are slim to none. I'm still convinced the best movie songs start with like The Jungle Book, Aristocats. I think You Can Fly and A Pirate's Life are like the most known songs from this movie, and they're still that super old style that just isn't fun and ages horribly. Not singable at all. Also, not a song note, but like Peter Pan's like kind of a tool bag. Just like watching you kind of realize he's not great. But back to music. So I figured Sleeping Beauty would be another wash, with no good songs to get down to or burst out on karaoke night. And I feel like that's still mostly the case. A lot of orchestral songs and old-timey chorus chanting, singing that is just narration. But I do have to say, Once Upon a Dream is like pretty good to sing along or duet with. Aurora's voice is actually nice to listen to, and while Philip's voice is like not at all what you would think it would be, it's not bad. Now I will say, these are kind of in this weird clump of songs, and I noticed this with a lot of things from Sleeping Beauty, where if you look for the track, it's like the small portion of the song is there, followed by like 3 minutes of something orchestral, which if you want to listen to just like the music part, you gotta sift through 3 minutes of garbage for a 5-minute song, which is not what you want to do, and really kind of a mood killer. I will say, as if anyone from my TikTok fame is listening, hello, and renegade. But this movie does come with the great TikTok audio of, when will I see you again? Oh, never. Well, maybe someday. What about tomorrow? Oh, no. Classic. If you're a TikToker, you get it. Also, the King's drinking song isn't too bad either. Is it like listenable? Sure. Is it re-listenable, especially out of context? No, I don't think so. This movie is the equivalent of like a one-hit wonder. Like, it's fine, pleasant surprise, but nothing that could even compare to the elite musical movies that we're going to touch on later. Not going to lie, I also feel like my listening experience was a little ruined because I went on a little sidetrack when I was rewatching this, and I kept playing the Shrek Robin Hood song like way too often when rewatching this. Like, I'd pause it and I'd listen to the Robin Hood song, and then I'd say, okay, I'm going to listen to it one more time and I'll be done, and I wasn't, and that was a little tangent I kept going on when watching, but I knew I persevered through for you guys, for the fans. And now we're going to move on to a quick one, and that is 101 Dalmatians. This is super quick. So let's play a game. That's right now, whether you're walking when you're listening, sitting in your house. I mean, if you're driving, maybe don't close your eyes, but think about it like this. 101 Dalmatians. Think of a song. Okay, let's break. What was it? Was it Cruella de Vil? Cruella de Vil? Of course it was. It's a pretty fun, jazzy song that's eerily similar to Your Mean One, Mr. Grinch, but like a little less festive, and it kind of, I'd say, has a little more swing to it. That's it. That's really the only song in this movie, which is a little weird, and maybe you guys don't remember this. One of the main human characters, he's a musician, and you only hear one song really throughout the movie. How wild is that? Is it a good song? Yeah. My mom immediately recognized it when we were talking a little bit about Disney songs I was talking about this episode, and sang it in that like odd way that everyone sings it, just like I did it. Cruella de Vil. Like, you're not gonna sing it normally. You kind of get low into it and you kind of slow it down. It's good, but it cannot compete with other movies that have a full roster. And like Caller Daddy says, you need a full roster. The Jungle Book, as I talked about, kind of has one of those songs that, like I said, really slaps, which we were looking for. Those are the big takeaways and importance of this episode of the podcast. There's nice atmosphere music overall here, but like 101 before it, there's one good song. Now, this is our first real no-question banger since Hi-Ho, It's Off to Work We Go, all the way from Snow White. But this one stands the test of time. The jazzy sounds and the bluesy sounds are all over the soundtrack, but the bare necessities is the crown jewel of this soundtrack. It's a great song. It slaps. It gets you going. Could be your Disney party anthem. Could be the Disney party anthem that you need. Look, we have all this time before we're really having wild parties again. Why not spend all that time coming up with like 10, 20, 30 great playlists, so when partying can come happen again, you're ready to go. You got a month's worth of party playlists, and this is just helping you get one of those. And if you want a barometer for great songs, look no further than the Stuntin' Like Mufasa mixtape that features this song. You'll reference this mixtape a lot. DJ DU does it. 10 songs you can imagine Bare Necessities is on that track. I will make sure to share a link on social. Also, last little tidbit for the Jungle Book. The Vulture song, That's What Friends Are For, is like surprisingly catchy, and like it kind of came out of nowhere, and I don't know if it's trying to be a riff on the Beatles with like 4 British vultures, but surprisingly good for like a late edition song in the film. Taking a quick water break, and then we'll go to the Aristocats. Okay, here we go. The Aristocats. Even the intro song is like catchy and fun. Just a nice narrative French song that's catchy. And the first time I feel like I've really liked an intro song. Think of this as the start of a new generation of music inclusion in Disney movies. All of the Phil Harris songs like Thomas O'Malley, it's just a fun jazzy time. But the song that really takes the cake here is Everybody Wants to Be a Cat. There's a nice slow song that builds into a wild time. The scales and arpeggio song is good in movie, but I would not want to listen to it outside of the context of the movie because I feel like the kids' voices of the kittens isn't really doing anything for you and it might grate a little bit. If there is only one issue I have, it's just there are not many songs. It's great for what it has, just not a lot in the way of a full body of work with some of the movies that we will discuss shortly. This might also be a trend of Paris Disney movies with great music, so think about that. So Oliver and Company has one thing going for it, always. It's just going to be tough to compete against Billy Joel, especially musically. This one song, Why Should I Worry? It's perfection. Overall, the atmosphere music is great, and while you don't see a lot of that music on Spotify, sadly, you'd have to go look for a cover karaoke version to find Streets of Gold. The music is pretty good and catchy. It's one of the few movies that took place in the modern age. The music is good and catchy. The only thing I have really against it is that it doesn't have that Disney feel necessarily to its, detriment of being a modern-ish movie. And in the same way that like a Hercules or a Lion King does. The music is actually pretty good here. Up to this point, the music is, in my mind, the best we've had of any music movie for Disney overall. It just stinks that it really isn't available to listeners outside of the movie. But the music and movie is very underrated, and you all really should check it out on Disney+. The Little Mermaid. All right, folks, now we are here and really getting to the classics. Part of Your World, great ballad. But people are here for Under the Sea and Kiss the Girl. Anything with Samuel E. Wright, who played Sebastian, is a treasure. This is one movie where I don't actually like the villain song, though. Poor Unfortunate Souls is super well known, but listen to it again, not watching it in the movie. Just listen to it by itself and see if you think it's as good as you think it is. And the interesting thing about, I think, Little Mermaid is that I listed, 4 songs, 3 that I think I like, for sure like, and that's it. I think people think of Little Mermaid really highly musically, and I do to a degree, but just remember the body of work doesn't necessarily fit the what we remember of Little Mermaid. Okay, Beauty and the Beast has some really good tracks. The 5-minute Belle track has been parodied and used in many instances because it's such a good song that someone will always quote. Some portion of it. For me it's Marie the Baguettes, but it could be, who knows what your quotable part from that nice tirade is. Classic bread talk. Be Our Guest is a banger that is so catchy and re-singable, and there's some more nice reserve songs like Something That Wasn't There Before, the song where they're kind of falling in love. But the creme of the crop, has to be that Gaston song. Eating so many eggs and being the size of a barge, it's such a parody on toxic masculinity that you can't help but love it, either ironically or not. And Disney seems to be unable to lose at bar drinking songs. This has to be the best villain song so far, and maybe ever, minus the real late musical gems. The quotes are too good. No one's neck is incredibly thick as Gaston, or I use antlers in all of my decorating. The music is beautiful, and I can't wait to watch the live action of this one day, especially with Ewan McGregor. Alright, Aladdin. One of 3 main childhood movies I watched a ton with Lion King and Hercules. The music is absolutely amazing. The late Robin Williams in general is amazing based on his acting, but his songs just hit different. Sadly, those songs are not really on Spotify, so you'll either have to listen to a Jafar reprieve of Prince Ali or the Will Smith versions from the 2019 film. Personally, I live with the Will Smith versions, which I think are fine and fit the Aladdin music itch. I just think of it as an homage, but I will always cherish the Robin Williams ones first and foremost. Who won't? One Jump Ahead is a fun, upbeat song, and Brad Kane does a great job with both of his main songs, including the much praised love duet, A Whole New World, with Lea Solange. Aladdin is good music. There's no question about that. So now we're going to get to a different style of Disney movie that I think first started here, and you'll see it at least once or twice more on this list, and that is the musical style movie. I think Nightmare Before Christmas is one of the few that really made that style of not just saying, here's a movie with some songs, here is a musical that is in movie form. And Danny Elfman, composer wizard, who did some great things with this music, known for the Batman originals and many other things. But in this movie, This Is Halloween, the town meeting song, and others are great, be they full ensemble or just Danny Elfman singing. Some of the best have to be the villain song that Oogie Boogie does. It's just catchy. I'm the Oogie Boogie Man. You're welcome for that. Which is catchy, but maybe not as overly singable, with a good chunk of talking parts with Santa and Sally talking a lot through his villain narrative song. But the song that really takes the cake here, and it's the whole spirit of the movie encapsulated in this one song, the one song that can actually be considered a Halloween and a Christmas song, and I really can listen to forever, and that is What's This? There's just a ton of quality in this soundtrack overall. Lion King were the golden generation of Disney classics. Circle of Life, I Just Can't Wait to Be King, Can You Feel the Love Tonight, Hakuna Matata, these are all super well known. I'm not telling you guys something you don't already know. These are great songs, but I think it's more just saying, think of how many great songs are in this movie that you can think of. But the one that's probably not as remembered, let's not forget how great the villain song was in this. Jeremy Irons, Whoopi Goldberg, and more make this underrated song catalog even better. This music slaps, and it becomes increasingly tough to think about whittling the song list down to 10. I feel like people think back on how good these songs are, but they may not listen to them as much as Little Mermaid or Hercules. I think people always will remember Hakuna Matata, but for some reason I feel like people are always going to think of like Under the Sea or any of the Gospel Truth songs just because they might be like a little bit catchier. And that's not to say anything negative to Lion King. I just feel like it's almost like it's so comfortable with its viewing that you don't view it as much because you're so familiar with it. But for reference, not one, but 2 songs from Lion King are on the Disney mixtape. Lastly, once you know this, you will look at Simba slightly differently. Matthew Broderick, aka Ferris Bueller, is Simba. Wow, right? Chicka-chicka. So Pocahontas was one of the first movies I ended up watching when I started this tangent for this podcast. And honestly, the music is pretty good in this, and everything is singable. There are some great reprisal tracks from the perspectives of the Native Americans and the Europeans. There's a villain song is great with Mine, Mine, Mine. That's the one that's probably why I started with Pocahontas, because I was really thinking in the mood of that Mine, Mine, Mine song. Even though that's highly not considered as one of the top songs you'd think of in Pocahontas. The ones you'd think of, Colors of the Wind, Just Around the River Bend. They're both really nice, strong ballads, and the meanings are great, which helps the power of the slower songs. That may be the only reason this isn't higher. Nice songs that are obviously good and listenable and singable, isn't really that one song that gets you going like some of these other movies. So this one's going to be a little different because we're talking about one movie. But honestly, you can encapsulate an entire 4-movie franchise into this. And if that's not a hint as to what we're talking about, let me be really blunt. Toy Story. And this is just going to be your friendly reminder. This is about music, not necessarily the movies. I love the Toy Story movies. One is clearly the best, but they're all good, obviously. I was very excited to watch Toy Story 4 in theaters. It was a great use of my time. That being said, orchestral music aside, there is one good song in this whole franchise. There's a reason they use it in all 4 movies, and yes, it's You've Got a Friend in Me, and it's a great, fun, nice, uplifting song that is the right kind of sound for your kind of lazy, relaxing listening. That's not a disservice to it, it's just your kind of chill-ish vibe song. It's a nice slow beat to it. But like I said before, one song is not gonna cut it in this crazy list. So I actually rewatched The Hunchback of Notre Dame before this project happened. I was kind of in the mood for a Disney movie, but I was rewatching Coco way too much, so I figured let's go something a little different that has music, but I'm just not as familiar with the whole thing. This actually, you could say, was maybe the inspiration for this episode before I kind of had a clear-cut defined, this is what I'm doing. I remember liking this movie as a kid, but I remember it being a little darker and maybe I didn't watch it as much. But I really did not remember just how good the music was. The beginning song, narration songs have really gotten better since those early flicks, and The Bells of Notre Dame is epic and just a good song. Also, Paul Candle in every song is the best part of the soundtrack. He plays the one Jester who's kind of the leader of the gypsy group. All the leads are great singers though. Even the villain song, where his voice may not be the musical genius that you would love, It's a great track. It's dark, it's ominous, and he's on a couple songs actually. Maybe that's why this movie and soundtrack stand out so much. It's just so different than everything else. And in this instance, that's not a bad thing. Sometimes you want to get a bit darker. If you guys haven't figured it out by now, I love me some dark, depressing forms of media. That's my shtick. That being said, there are some fun tracks. Topsy Turvy is a great time, and there's some great classic Disney ballads like Out There and God Help the Outcast. I've contemplated hard on including this in the top 10, and you may find the final answer a bit surprising. But going from something that may be a dark horse contender to the top 10 comes probably, from this point, the most obvious inclusion in the top 10 and at least the top 5, and that is Hercules. The best movie of my childhood. The best Disney movie of my childhood. The best movie of my childhood is probably, let's say, A New Hope. Hey, Star Wars. I'm pretty sure it's A New Hope, I'll say that. But for many reasons, this is the best Disney movie of my childhood. One of those big reasons is the music. Of course, the gospel stylings of the Muses are the star of the show here. There are 5 songs that are solely focused on this group, and a 6th one, which is an amazing duet for I Won't Say I'm in Love. The 3 gospel truth reprisals are all great, but Zero to Hero has to be the catchiest Disney song ever. And don't worry, there are some more standard fare classic power ballads, like Go the Distance, with a very nice celebrity cover done by Michael Bolton. Even the Danny DeVito song, which borders on talking over the music sometimes, is still super catchy, and it's just good. Like, more power to you, Hercules, for having unbelievable music at the time. We're really hitting the winners here, with the next one being Mulan, which has some truly amazing songs. Personally, my favorites are I'll Make a Man Out of You and A Girl Worth Fighting For. Both are just fun songs that are singable, and they really get you going. You can kind of move and groove a little bit to them. Reflection is good, but it is one of the few movies where I actually like the celebrity version done by Christina Aguilera better than the original one. I almost forgot about the nice beginning song, Honor to Us All, and it's not as catchy as the other 3. It's still good. For me, I don't know if it's because of the matchmaking happening during that scene, it kind of has Fiddler on the Roof vibes for me a little bit. Back to my musical heyday. I, for some reason, thought this movie was more musical than a lot of others on this list. Even though it's near perfect in the songs that it does have, it is worth noting there are not a lot of songs in this movie, especially as you think. And let's be real, if you're not forking over $30 for Mulan in live action, the next best thing is watching the Mulan You Ready Get with Disney Plus. That's available right now. So when going through this little hunt of Disney movies for the past week, there are some that I genuinely didn't remember what the music was, if there was anything. So I said, okay. I remember Bug's Life as a kid. It was the first movie that I watched in the front row as a kid, the other being Cloverfield. Neither was a good experience. But I remember liking A Bug's Life. When you look at this one musically, it's another Randy Newman 100% orchestral score movie. He's a master at what he does. But there's no vocal singing in the movie. There's nothing you can do, and it does not meet the bare minimums for this podcast. It's a good movie. Way better than Ants, but sadly no songs to sing. So if you want your musical fix, you gotta go somewhere else. Definitely watch it at some point to remember what it was, or if you've never seen it. But if you want something with music, you gotta look somewhere else. And that's part of this list. We're not just rating good and bad. This is a PSA. If you want music in your movie, Bug's Life, it's not the right life for you. Okay, we are on to Tarzan. We are chugging along here. Honestly, the music here ain't bad. Something about it always being like mostly not a part of the world. The music's just sort of existing and sung by narrator. And for me, that keeps it out of the upper echelon. It has nothing to do with the quality of song. The Phil Collins songs, Two Worlds, You'll Be in My Heart, Strangers Like Me, they're all good. The issue is they're all kind of sound the same. I honestly forgot about Son of Man and Trash in the Camp, but that being said, they're good too. This is all good. It just has that small issue with being a bit plain. It's a little plain Jane of a soundtrack. Something that the earlier and later entries on this list don't have an issue with. And that's the issue when you have just one narrator singing all the songs. It's going to sound a little bit the same because at the end of the day, it is. So I remember The Emperor's New Groove, the trailer being pretty like musically focused and dancing, which is great. I was excited for it at the time. Looking back, I forgot anything with music in this movie. The first song, Perfect World by Tom Jones, yeah, that Tom Jones from It's Not Unusual. He sings a great, fun, brassy track called Perfect World. I wish I could share it with y'all, but sadly, it's not on Spotify. I don't know what's going on. It's the best song they have. The rest of the soundtrack features Sting and Rascal Flatts, which feels a bit random. Yzma does have a song which isn't bad, but nothing compares to that Tom Jones joint. Sadly, and that's just not enough. So when we talked earlier in this podcast, something we said was some of the movies will be good, but without the music, they're not going to look great in this reviewed format. This is one of those cases. I love Atlantis, The Lost Empire. It's one of my favorite later entries in the Disney movie catalog, along with Treasure Planet. You'll see a lot of parallels between those two. This is one that feels a bit more mature in theme, and just different from a lot of the other Disney movies out there. It is mostly a soundtrack movie done up by the amazing James Newton Howard from Fantastic Beasts, co-composed the Dark Knight movies with Hans Zimmer, and The Hunger Games. But there is just one singing song, and it is sadly one of those modern day songs, and it does the thing that, in my mind, the end credits song should never do. When I want to watch the end credits in a movie theater, I know, right? Remember when we could go to the movie theater? When you're sitting there at the end of the movie, and let's say you're not waiting for a post-credit scene, what you want to do is absorb that music a little bit and kind of reflect internally, or with your friends, the connections you had to the movie, the thoughts you were thinking, the feelings you were feeling, just your experience at the movie. And a song should be reflective of that and help you with that. But in this case, it took you immediately out of the movie. It feels out of left field, and it's just sad that it ends such a great movie with such a random whatever song. Monsters, Inc. I'll keep this one brief. It's taking some time to get through all these. Another Randy Newman movie, another one random song. However, who would have thought that a duet of Billy Crystal and John Goodman would ever be a thing and not actually be that bad? I know, surprising. It's a fun little oldies inspired vaudeville duet about friendship, which isn't bad. Is it Spotify good? I don't think so. But who knows, maybe I'm wrong. If enough people tell me I'm wrong, maybe I'll throw it on there. So Lilo and Stitch has an interesting little niche going on, and they have this Elvis fandom imbued in their soundtrack. And there's a scene in the movie where Stitch is with wearing the Elvis suit. He has the wig. And look, I love me some Elvis. Elvis has some great songs that I love. I love In the Ghetto, Suspicious Minds, If I Can Dream. The list goes on and on. I mean, look, fun fact, the day I was born, Elvis died. Not the same year, but the same day nonetheless. This soundtrack has 5 Elvis songs in it, plus another one that's a cover. But like many before, there's one song that we remember from this movie, and it's a great one. Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride is a phenomenal song. It's catchy, it slaps, it's relaxing, it's fun. If there are more songs like this, honestly, it might be higher on the list though. We can appreciate Hawaiian Roller Coaster for what it is, but once again, one great song can make a Spotify playlist, but it cannot make a top 10 list. Alright, we're to the other end of this 2-movie spectrum, Treasure Planet. There are 2 songs here instead of one from Atlantis, and they fit a little better. But if you want music-focused movies, you gotta skip them. It's not the time to watch them. Watch them, just not right now. Actually, I thought we were done. Here's another one that's very similar. Finding Nemo. It's another music, soundtrack, orchestral movie, but one thing is importantly different here. It has a great credit song. It's Beyond the Sea by Robbie Williams. And you've heard it. It's a classic vintage song. It's a great song. Beyond the Sea. That's my quick representation of it for you. You're welcome. It's a great song in its own right, but it also matches the tone of the film because, you know, water. But it's not jarring like some other post-credit, during-credit songs that we've heard on this list. So you gotta give them a little props for picking something that you can really sit there, enjoy Finding Nemo, think about what it was, and have a nice little song that relates to water as you go. Okay, folks, we are getting to the good stuff now, and this is one of my favorites, The Princess and the Frog. You knew what it was. You knew what was coming. The end of a classic Disney style of animation. Also, every song is perfect. That, and there are so many to choose from. The jazz stylings are some of the best Disney has ever done. Anika Nani Rose is a great lead with a great voice. The villain song, Keith David, is probably one of the top 2 Disney songs of all time. I want to say it's better than Gaston's song because it probably is musically, but I just appreciate the Gaston song so much. But Keith David singing I've Got Friends on the Other Side, super good, super catchy, like everything in this movie. I don't even know where else to go. The beginning song of introducing us to New Orleans, anything with Anika singing, which is Almost There, and When We're Human, they're just good. They have good messages, and the whole soundtrack is just super bingeable over and over again. Dig a Little Deeper is a great gospel song led by Jennifer Lewis. Even the worst songs on here, and this is comparatively, not critically, they're both by Jim Cummings, but even those songs, and they're the songs where the Firefly is kind of singing the main songs, they're still better than a lot of other movies' best songs. Think about that. And just a last little tidbit, because I feel like a lot of people missed out on Princess and the Frog. If you haven't watched this yet, stop what you're doing. I know we've had to pause this podcast once already to listen to the DC episode. You can do it again. We'll come back in an hour and a half, 2 hours if you want to really listen to some music right after you watch it to realize just how catchy these songs are. We'll be here when you get back. Wow, how good was that music from Princess and the Frog? Did you love it? Good. Let's go to the next thing. Tangled. Nothing inherently wrong with Tangled. Maybe I just watched it too late. Maybe it's the fact that it's another clear musical movie, and we haven't really had one of these since Nightmare Before Christmas. With so many songs sung by mostly Mandy Moore, is there anything wrong with that? No. She has a really nice voice. But does it have a lot of stuff that all sounds the same? We can call it the Tarzan dilemma. Donna Murphy, Zach Levi, and everyone else, they all sound good. And Mandy Moore sounds good too. It just feels a bit basic. And maybe I did myself wrong by having seen Frozen first. But whatever it is, this just doesn't do it for me. It's just a bit too basic, average princess fare for me musically. Like the old classics, they just sound better with modern musical stylings. I've Got a Dream is a fun, unique-ish style, so one song can make the Spotify playlist for a weird, fun song to throw in there. And fun fact, guess what? It's another Disney drinking song. So something about Disney and drinking songs just goes hand in hand. So maybe it's the Scottish man in me, with my last name and all that. But I love the music in Brave. I think this is one of those cases where the movie doesn't need to have a ton of music to be watchable, good, and enjoyable. It is good, as is. And while it has a similar tone in a unique and pleasant Scottish distinction, be it musically and vocally, it just doesn't have enough to make it far on the list because of the lack of the songs. But the few they have are good enough to enjoy in or out of the context of the film. It's just not enough for this specific thing. So this might be a little controversial. We're on to Frozen, but I'll just put it out there. Frozen was supposed to be the second coming of Disney musical ingenuity, the new bar of success. Frozen, Let It Go, all that. And at the time I was hooked, beyond belief, like everyone else. Let It Go is a really good song. Do You Want to Build a Snowman? Love's an Open Door? They're all really good. But with this context that we have now of Moana, Frozen 2, and just comparing it to everything else. Bit of a fixer-upper? It's okay. It's not bad. It's fine. It's just not mind-blowingly good. In Summer is easily second fiddle to the Frozen 2 song Josh Gad sings. There are some amazing songs in this movie, but this list looks at the full body of work. I know that you guys may wonder, is that it? Is that all you're going to talk about Frozen? Don't worry. We're going to talk about Frozen again, but it's going to be when we talk about Frozen 2. We got a couple movies to go between that are quite musically gifted. Moana is not only good, but just like relaxing and pleasant. The songs where Moana is akin to water, it's so zen and beautiful, as well as the end song. Like the main songs that are known from here, they're You're Welcome and How Far I'll Go. And they're both amazing. Your classic main princess song is one of the better ones for sure, and The Rock's You're Welcome is super catchable and re-singable over and over again. Where You Are and We Know the Way are both chorus pieces that feature Lin-Manuel Miranda and Nicole Scherzinger. It is not the main song, but the villain song Shiny is low-key my favorite, sung by Jermaine Clement, who also sings Goodbye Moonmen and Rick and Morty, and has a particularly memorable rap scene against Jason Mantzoukas in Legion. There are a ton of reprisal songs here, and since the originals are so good, it's nice to hear those same things over and over again. So all of the music in Coco is just catchy, singable, and like Hercules, still good after many, many listens. Based on how the music is represented in the story in this movie, all of the songs are songs you can really sing to. And there is something really nice about singing be a part of the main story itself. Remember Me is something I still sing to this day, and you get multiple versions of it. Un Polo Loco is super singable and fun along the same lines as The World Es Mi Familia. Like so many of these songs are singable and danceable, even La Lorna, which is a bit more serious in tone, it is beautifully sung. It's dramatic, danceable, and when the duet hits, it's elevated. Both Benjamin Bratt and Antonio Sol sing for Ernesto de la Cruz, who's actually the villain in this, and they're both amazing. And hearing the lullaby of Remember Me, and then shortly after hearing it in reunion version, that scene, even after a million watch-throughs, will still make me tear up. Not too many movies can do that, but this one gets me. And the encore song, where music is allowed, it's like a more emotionally resounding Footloose. And Proud Corazon is a great way to wrap up the movie. The songs are all great. Even the ones I do not love, and Everyone Knows Juanita, it's still a good song. Just not my cup of tea. Alright, Frozenettes and Frozeners, we're up to Frozen 2. And at the time, I figured Frozen was going to be a staple of Disney music. And it is good. But if you look past Let It Go and compare the overall body of work to Frozen 2, which may be unfair, but they are sequels, there's going to be a bit of comparison. I actually think this movie outperforms the prior entry in the series. All Is Found is a haunting, beautiful tune, and getting any Evan Rachel Wood, who also is quite good at singing it across the universe. Some Things Never Change is a nice and pleasant song that features all of your main leads and sets the mood for other songs to explore these themes. That might be why I put it higher than Frozen. Frozen is great about finding love in new and not usual places by Disney standards, but it is still a love story, which, been there, done that. Frozen 2 deals with coming-of-age songs that we all can relate to. Into the Unknown, When I Am Older, and Lost in the Woods are all touched on this theme with different styles of power ballads. And interestingly enough, a couple of those power ballads are coming from guys, which isn't very often in Disney. You have songs dealing with the fear of what's to come. You have songs of assuming that with age comes knowledge and understanding of these uncertainties. You have an uncertainty about your status in a loving relationship. It's too real. These styles of power ballads and joking and even the rare boy band like song, they're all just super singable, and it's par for the course with Disney right now. Idina Menzel and Kristen Bell are still the best at singing, and that's not really surprising. They were the best singing in Frozen as well. But just hearing them clean up at the end with Show Yourself and the very emotionally song Do the Next Right Thing, this is a top contender for best musical Disney movie. And with that, the moment you've all been waiting for, let's get to that top 10 list. So before we start, I never know how to do honorable mentions. I really wanted to whittle it down to 10. At one point it was up to 14 to fit in a 10, and I figured couldn't do that. So we got it down to 10 plus one honorable mention. And it's tough because I feel like the honorable mention is Nightmare Before Christmas. And while there's a lot of good music, I don't know if it's the animation style that just makes it feel different. Nightmare Before Christmas always feels like it's in its own little world when you think of Disney movies. And that's not a bad thing. It's just always going to feel different. And I love the music. I respect how good it is. But for this list, did not make the cut. All right, folks, you ready? Here it is. Number 10, Hunchback of Notre Dame. And this may feel like a left field one, but I encourage you to go back. I'd say watch the movie. You could just listen to the music, but I say watch the movie and listen and really listen and just think, wow, how you forgot how good this was, or how maybe you never knew how good this music was. This may feel like a high number for number 9, but I have The Lion King, and it seems high early in the list. And don't get me wrong, Hakuna Matata is great. Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Great. There's a lot of good songs. It just felt like as I made the list and grew more and more and more, I almost feel like I would say I have enough songs that are danceable and some songs I wanted to be more singable. And for some reason, I thought Lion King was more danceable and less singable. And I needed a few more singable ones higher up as I went. And I think dance-wise, Lion King was just a little below some of the early ones I had. So one of the more singable ones, I think, and I'm happy I put this in there, and that's Beauty and the Beast. And I think I love the Gaston song, but one song can't make or break the movie. So I said, well, let's look at the body of work, right? It's what the NCAA does for tournament selections, right? Let's see the full body of work. And Be Our Guest, Belle, and I honestly forgot about something there that wasn't there before, which is kind of ironic. But I think honestly, that last song was what put this a little bit higher than Lion King. Hunchback of Notre Dame has a lot of great songs, but I think I had to put some of the better songs, even if there's more songs I listen to in Hunchback. And Beauty and the Beast has some great songs. Speaking of great songs, which is the most basic transition ever, number 7, Aladdin. I feel pretty good about Aladdin being there. Almost in the middle of the road, a little lower, but not so far to 9 and 10. I think the songs are great, especially the Robin Williams song. The Robin Williams songs alone get it to probably number 7. I just think that maybe them not being available on Spotify doesn't help, but maybe it's that for some strange reason, I think one more classic one, even with less songs, percentage-wise feels stronger. So at number 6, I have Mulan. And it's kind of crazy to think that a movie that has maybe 4 to 5 songs max can be that high. But if there's a song that's in my head randomly, that's not one of the main top 3 that I listen to for Disney, it's probably going to be Make a Man Out of You or A Girl Worth Fighting For. Because they're both super catchy and they get stuck in your head. They're real earworms. And that's such a power that you have to respect when making this list. And that's why we have Mulan at number 6. Top 5, here we go. Number 5, it's Moana. And I think it should be obvious why Moana's on this list. It's because You're Welcome. Well, no, it's because You're Welcome is good. But when you think of all of the songs that even though they may not be singable, sometimes you just want something to relax to. And it feels like other than Shiny, which is a song I love and can sing to, everything else on that soundtrack is just relaxing. And sometimes you need that. You need some relaxing tunes every so often. You can't always be blasting Dragon Force. You need something kind of mellow and chill. And if you need a whole soundtrack of that, look no further than what Moana brings. All right, guys, number 4, Frozen 2. You probably saw that coming from my discussion on the list. You'll probably wonder, is Frozen 1 on this list? And if you heard my stance, you can probably assume it's not. I know, crazy. But Frozen 2, Lost in the Woods is the song for me that I will listen to forever. But when you think of how prevalent coming of age stories are to people and going through things, and everyone in Frozen 2 goes through something different, and each of those different things you're going through is encapsulated in a song. Everyone needs songs to get through things they're going through. You're worried about starting college. You're worried about the uncertainty of the world right now because of the disease that's going around and COVID. Into the unknown. I mean, we could compare songs to moments and events throughout, but I think you get the drift. And there's a reason why I think Frozen 2 overall has a better body of work than Frozen 1. And that's why it's at number 4. So my top 3, I pretty much knew what my top 3 was before I started this. And I don't think they'll ever change. Disney makes great things. 2 of these are post-childhood Disney watching Nick. But these 3 have amazing music, a lot of it. And the order for this was really tough. And I don't even know if it's right. But I'm going to say it's right. At number 3, we got Hercules. I thought about putting it at number 1 because it was always a classic I listened to. But I haven't listened to it as much. Maybe that's because it's older. Maybe it's because I've heard it so much. But for whatever reason, it's at number 3. There's an amazing songs. As I said, the muses steal the show. There's so many good songs. Even Dan DeVito's song is good. But for some reason, I just couldn't get past 3. Probably the big one you're wondering, right? If you guys can imagine right now, there are 2 movies here left. You're probably guessing what they are. You probably know, but we'll leave it a surprise for a little bit longer. Number 2, it's Princess and the Frog. Same thing. I wanted to put it at 1. I really did. I love the Louisiana style of music that's imbued in lovingly in every song. All the songs are so good. And I think at the end of the day, it came down to this. Number 1 is Coco. And that might be a crazy notion that you guys might be absolutely despising. But here's my thing. Every song in Coco, even Everyone Knows Juanita, is singable. And I love everything about it. And I love the fact that music, which is the important part of this list, is a main story portion of the movie. It's almost like when I listen to the soundtrack, I'm almost rewatching the entire movie as opposed to being reminded of a portion of the movie when I listen to other soundtracks. When I think of Coco, there's no part of the movie that I just miss out on because of the music. When I think of anything else, you'll remember the scene, but you will not remember the whole movie. And once again, the top 3 in my mind, easily the best songs. Easily. You can even go the whole top 10 list is great. But the top 3 are something special. And even though the music in Prince and the Frog is amazing and so important, in my mind, if you have a child, a daughter, whatever, this is a Disney movie you should show to your kid early. And this is the reason why. It doesn't just say to stick with stereotypical gender norms, right? Prince and the Frog is about Tiana who works hard for what she does. And a lot of the songs are about that and have that message in there. And that's such an important message to all children, but especially to girls who are watching Disney movies who want someone who's not just going to sit around and wait for love to come free them from a glass coffin or a spindle coma pricking finger thing. This is someone who's active and going after her dreams and her goals. And don't we all need a little bit of that in our lives? And that's all important and good. But at the end of the day, Coco had the best music of all time, obviously. Remember Me. Remember Me is such a song. I'll listen to every version of it, and it does it for me. That's it. That's the list. You guys may be annoyed. I'll tell you, Pocahontas was up there. Little Mermaid was up there. Frozen could have been up there, but you had to narrow it down to 10. I didn't want to have 5 honorable mentions. A lot of places were close. A lot of movies had really good music, and that goes to show even with all the ones that I don't think are great. It's tough to narrow down even 10. More props to Disney, especially their recent trends of music. But even that, let's give a shout out to, honestly, Oliver and Company for being the first one to really have, I would say, consistently good music. And if you want to go past that and give it to the movie that did it first, it's Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid's the first movie that had really classic good music. It's not Cinderella, it's not Sleeping Beauty, it's not Snow White. It's Little Mermaid. Gotta give praise to who came before, who walked, so things like Prince and the Frog and Coco could run. Just what it is. All right, friends, that's it. Now we're all caught up. 4 episodes in the books. You listen to the DC Fandom episode. You listen to the glory that is the Disney music episode. I just want to put this out there to you guys. I know we're only a couple episodes in, but to you loyal listeners out there, thank you. This has been a good journey so far, and we're so early in the stages, but thank you guys for listening and enjoying what I'm trying to do here, which is use my overabundance of movie and TV show knowledge and seemingly obsessive need to just keep watching new things or just rewatch things and talk about them. And you guys are giving me the platform to do that. And I love that. I appreciate that more than you guys know. But enough about that. Enough sap. Let's get to the real things. I have so many fun goodies and giveaways this time around. You're going to get a link to the DJ Do You mixtape. You're going to get a link to the Disney Spotify playlist. You know what else you have a link for that maybe you're not using yet? Our Emmy episode, second episode we've aired, has another fun little thing. You know what that little thing is? It's right. It's an Emmys pick'em. You like fantasy sports? You like your entertainment news? Well, guess what? Do you think you can compete against me and my knowledge? 109 categories. Let's see who can do the best. I already have a couple nominations in, and whoever gets it, you'll get a nice little shout out on social. How about that? It's a good time. Could be a nice fun time. But guys, the real thing I need to know, what do you think of this list? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Do you think I offended your movie? Did I not even talk about your favorite musical Disney movie? Do you think something else should be number 1? I want to know it all. You know how you can reach out to me? Let's get some social out there. Knickknack_IC or Knickknack Movies. Let's have the Disney debate rage on all week. That's what I'm here for, guys. I want to talk some movies. Let's talk some Disney, folks. And some big news coming next week. We may have our very first guest interview. This is still going to be the Knickknack Goes to the Movie show. Don't worry. But let's spice things up a little bit. We're going into episode 5. We can mix up the format, and we'll see what you guys think. Tell me if you like it, don't like it, but that'll be next week. And until next week, This has been another great episode of Nick Nack Goes to the Movies. Remember, we can listen wherever you find podcasts. And I do, of course, want to give a special thanks to our podcast host, Buzzsprout. So stay sane, and until next time, cinephiles. Are you not entertained? I think this is gonna be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I don't like goodbyes. Let's just call this see you later, alligator.